Thank you everyone for joining us on the Brown Dad channel. I've got a very interesting guest with us today, none other than Mr. Kevin Singh, who's not only a relationship therapist, but also a sex therapist. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us on our show today. Can you say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name's Kevin Singh. I'm a Master of Social Work, so I need to give my official title. So it's MSW, licensed psychotherapist, or specifically I'm a relationship and sex therapist.
Wow, wow. That seems like a very impressive resume. I mean, it's very strange because you are a brown man, and it is one of those taboo subjects that brown people never really talk about. So, what really got you into this space, if you don't mind my asking?
I always wanted to be a therapist. I love the labyrinth of the mind and communication and helping people in a really practical way. But I wasn't necessarily sure how I was going to do that. The reason that the way sex therapy came up is I basically met this famous therapist guy, and he said, "You know what, Kevin, I like you, right? Let me supervise you." And then I ended up going to like a really big sex therapist conference with him, and I realized everyone was basically old white people, right? There was like one Asian dude, one black person, and I was the only South Asian person there. So I'm like, you know what, my people need this.
Right, right. No, definitely, and on some level, I think it's very impressive because it is almost like the road not taken. Right? You've probably heard the
Yeah.
Robert Frost poem, right? The road not taken, and
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
you're definitely on that
I'm
path. Um, can you? How long have you been a therapist, if you don't mind us asking?
I've been a relationship and sex therapist for 2 years, and I've been a counselor for 7 years.
Wow, wow. And do you practice actively? I'm asking because people are probably looking for your services at some point. Yes.
Yeah, I have a little list, so if anyone contacts me, they might need to wait a week or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing this. I'm born to do this. I love doing this. I'm not
Very,
going to stop anytime soon.
very nice, very nice, very nice. So it's interesting that we're talking about this, and it's interesting about the fact that you went into this space based on the fact that you were already in therapy, and you found this calling for
Mm-hmm.
yourself at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind sharing with us some interesting anecdotes of things that have ever come your way? Obviously, without giving too many details, right?
Are you talking about myself or about, let's say, client issues?
Yeah, like client issue. What would someone come to a sex therapist for? Because as I said, it's the first time that ever encountered one. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I agree. It can be confusing, right?
yeah.
So, as a sex therapist, I help with a couple things. So, one is I help if you're in a relationship and sex is an issue,
Mm-hmm.
I help a lot with that.
Mm-hmm.
I also help with dysfunctions. So
Mm-hmm.
that might be erectile dysfunction, premature delayed ejaculation,
Mm-hmm.
might be things like sexuality and fetishes.
Right.
Like I said, communication, how to, let's say, manage your urges in a positive way.
Right.
And a big part of it, believe it or not, is self love,
Right.
right? Because what I realize is, especially in the South Asian community, first of all, there's no one to talk to about this, so it's even already like anxiety inducing to do that.
Right.
Uh, and then it's like, um, does this person help me with what I'm looking for?
Right.
I I do a couple things. Let me okay. Good. I have my website there.
Right.
So I'm
And we'll
very
post
fairly
a
written
link
on
to
my
your
website.
website. We'll post a link to your website in the bottom.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I will answer a question there before I forget. So yes, depression, anxiety, self-love, and self-esteem. Sexual addiction and porn addiction. Um, Erotic, like if someone has shame or guilt about maybe what they're attracted to or about anything,
Right.
and also desire discrepancy. So if there's a couple where one person has a high sex drive and the other doesn't,
Right.
and how to deal with that issue.
Right. Right. Very nice. Okay, that's quite a comprehensive list, and I'm sure like on some level because two people never really see eye to eye, there's always going to be that disconnect unless you have that communication, and I guess that's where you come in, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because communication's everything, right?
Right.
We're talking about sex or any part.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. So is there any quick tips you can give our viewers to say, hey, this will help you in a positive way?
There's so many, because like I said, I deal with so many different say faces of sex.
Yeah,
I will say if I can find a common denominator, I'll say, hey, sex is completely natural. You're allowed to have whatever desires that you want. At the same time, if you do ever feel issues like guilt or confusion, just notice a lot of that has to do with your programming. So
right,
it could be cultural programming. Say not like in South Asian culture, right? Before, say if you take Bollywood, to even show like just a one kiss or like a small peck on the cheek was so incredibly taboo, and
right.
it's only been, especially the last 5 years, that things are just rapidly moving really
Evolving.
fast.
Right,
So that's one example, but it's also your family. It's also your society. Even if you're in North America right now, right? There's still social conditioning from Hollywood, and there's things like you're more pretty if you're, or sexy if you're Caucasian, if you're white, right? So just know that some of the issues you're having, don't take it too personally, like something's wrong with you. Like
hmm,
also acknowledge things are affecting with you, and we can stop those. We can help you to unlearn.
right, right, right. And it's interesting you said that, right? Because it's interesting you mentioned that about Bollywood, because Bollywood's got over what 100 years plus of cinema, and
Mm-hmm.
it exists in one of the largest populations in the world, and yet
Yeah. Yeah.
the only way to expand a population is through sex. So it's interesting that you've got this weird relationship, right, where societally it's not really spoken about, but yet everyone's doing it because the population is definitely increasing, right?
Exactly.
Right. It's very
Yeah.
I thought it's a very interesting space to be in. Definitely is. Yeah. So, that being said, now you've obviously seen, you've got an active roster, as you said. People have to come. They're almost waiting 2 weeks to come see you. So, how would one go about booking you? I'm assuming through your website.
Yeah, just check out my website. In my website, I explain who I am, how I work,
Hmm.
what I help with. And yeah, just shoot me an email. It's all the instructions there. I have a start here section, but I also have, depending on what your challenge is, I have very specific pages. Right? So if it's a dysfunction issues, an addiction issues, and a
Right.
couple issue, I even have a South Asian spotlight page. So, I try to make it as simple and clear for you as
Very
possible.
nice. Very nice. So you're saying go through the site, you get some preliminary information in that space that you're in, and then kind of connect with you, right? So I'm assuming you'd kind of do
Yeah.
like a debrief with them, or some kind of like an evaluation to see what it is that
Mhm.
what kind of plan you can put them on. How does that work?
Yeah, one thing my clients love about me is I'm very systematic and I cover all bases and I take very good notes.
Hmm.
And a big part of that is at the end of the first session, especially if it's a 90-minute session, I make a very practical plan.
Okay.
Right. So this way people know, okay, so this is what my budget's going to be. And people can also tell you, this is my budget, so let's find a way to work within it. Right.
Right.
And people know that it is everything's accounted for. We're doing it. Just choosing the order of how to do things. Because
Right.
what happens, a lot of people jump to this, right? But they may not consider. I need to understand someone's psychological blueprint and their sexual blueprint,
Right.
right? So normally the first session is us just getting to know each other, really emphasizing I'm completely non-judgmental. I've heard it all. I've seen it all. I've had people judge me in life. I've had my own share of issues, and so I really, really emphasize that's not the case. And then I put together a plan for them.
Right. 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 Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, if you don't mind, if you don't mind my asking, did growing now that you're a therapist, did you have that same conversation in the home growing up? Did you have that liberty to have that conversation openly in the house?
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, you can ask me anything in the world, so you don't have to tiptoe, But I appreciate that. Yeah, so sex growing up, definitely. I had issues where like I literally thought I was gonna go to hell if I masturbated, right? So and then growing up in my home, it was like if there was anything ever kind of sexual, it's like there was shame around it, and not necessarily me doing something,
Right.
but if you saw something in a movie or the brown communities are famous
Yeah.
for gossip, right?
Right.
Not
Right.
only us, but we got the tea from the British.
Right.
We kept pouring it.
Right.
And you would always hear like, oh, this person's kid is doing this, and that person, and I saw them holding hands, right? So it was like very, the stigma was really, really there,
Right.
and as I got older, it's issues like, let's say there was a time that I was watching way too much porn, and I dealt with a lot of low self-esteem. I even was thinking, I'm short, I'm brown. These are like disadvantages for me, things like that. And a big part of that is the connection to dating, because modern day dating today is very, very difficult. But then you have the culture also saying, don't even go down that road at all. But then
Just get an arranged marriage done.
It's a famous saying a comedian said. I don't remember who said it. But in these like brown families, it's like you're not allowed to date, you're not allowed to do anything like that. And then one day it's like, boom, why aren't you married?
Right. It's a crazy situation, and it's funny because now there's even shows that are depicting it, right? I believe there's a wedding planner or something like that on Netflix.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I watched that. That was good. That was actually like true to reality.
Right.
I think it's called Indian matchmaking.
That's what
like
it is. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, I growing up in a brown household, obviously that conversations don't really happen as comfortably as you'd like them to be, right? Because again, now I mean, there's a lot of information out there with the internet and things like that. Misinformation too. Don't get me wrong, but growing up, I mean, you didn't really have that, and I mean, other than studying it from a biology class, you didn't know or understand any of those things, and they don't talk about any of the rest of it, right? Which is all the other complications that come with it. But no, thank you for sharing that, because it is something that affects a lot of our viewers, and it is something on different levels, right? And people, I think one of the big steps is awareness that there is something that and then you can start looking to start changing certain things and behaviors and etc. Right? So I thought that's definitely interesting.
You just reminded me of something else I can say.
Yep.
Is it working?
Yeah. It's good.
Okay. So not only was there guilt, and not only was there a huge stigma and shame, but I also dealt with erectile dysfunction.
Right.
And I was a young guy. I was very sporty. I was like doing really well in track in my school. I was on the basketball team and stuff. And I couldn't get it up.
Right.
And I couldn't talk to anyone about this. And every person I would look online, right? They didn't look like me. They didn't sound like me, right? And then I would even have feelings like, it's like these white people, because much younger, right? It's like they don't understand where I'm coming from. They don't know like how my family would act like this, right? So I tried to find my own sex therapist, and I went to men's health clinics.
Right.
I had a lot of bad experiences. So
Right.
kind of as a coincidence later, when I met my supervisor, it was like, wow, yes, I actually have been through this.
Right. Wow, that's quite a journey. So, you, as a sex therapist, you'd also help with the physical aspect of situations of that sort. So, say for example, erectile dysfunction. There are two parts to it, right? One, there could be a physical component to it, and one there could be a mental emotional component to it. Uh, Mind you, the mental emotional then kind of manifests itself physically, which kind of then causes that thing, right?
Yeah.
But and vice versa, you could have a genuine physical, like maybe a tear in the muscle or something of that sort that's actually causing a situation like that. So do you also help with the physical, if there's a physical component to it?
Yeah, I'll tell you, in 99% of cases, it's not an obviously like purely physical issue. Right. So for that part, I'm not actually gonna see anyone's private. That's completely, not allowed, professional, right? But I'm gonna ask the right questions, and I'm gonna be asking in a way that someone understands it. Right. So we're gonna talk about pain. We're talking about urination, the masturbating, if there is sex.
Yeah.
With clothes, without clothes. We're going to talk about circumcision. Right. We're going to talk about maybe a time when there wasn't pain. We're going to talk about all their other physical symptoms. I'm going to recommend psychiatric medications and
Right.
supplements.
Right.
And then, of course, we're going to go to, as you're saying, like the psychosomatic version of it.
Right.
So, is an anxiety manifesting? Blah, 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 right?
Right.
So, oh, and also masturbation style. So
Mm-hmm.
there's many times there's people that masturbate in a wrong way. So, for example, they might like hump the bed.
Mm-hmm.
It's called a prone masturbation, and then they're basically teaching their penis like to go inwards instead of outwards,
Right.
right?
Right.
So there's a lot of versions and versions like that. So that's how I would know.
Right. Okay. Wow. That's quite a. Yeah. I guess they have to come see you. We can't cover the expanse of everything else that covers the human sexuality. But no,
Wow.
it's definitely an interesting talk. Also, then as a sex therapist, you also get to talk to people that are in transition phases between different genders and things of that sort as well.
A little bit, not too much. I definitely people with their sexuality. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, are they, how do they identify like actually, right? And it takes time, but it could be things like, are you heterosexual? Are you homosexual? Are you like, are you queer in some way? There's so many categories. Are you asexual? Are you hypersexual? Right?
Right.
But not gender. I
Right.
think there's a lot of therapists out there that they just work on gender. So
Right.
I would refer someone to them.
Okay. 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 Good. So that's a clear demarcation then. So it's at least that then so our viewers know if they're ever looking for something of that sort, where to kind of go into that space. Interesting. Yeah, your journey is very interesting, Kevin, and I'm glad that you could share this so openly with our viewers. It's important that people have these conversations because otherwise, people
Yeah.
live in. I believe that on some level people believe that their problems are isolated to themselves, and they believe that
Yes.
they're it's only them. There's no one else. It's them against the world. But the truth is,
Exactly.
yeah, the truth is we all share the same kind of challenges, right? So it's
Yeah.
definitely
People feel like they're, I like to say sometimes we're all alone together.
correct.
Right? Right?
I like
And
that.
it doesn't feel that way, especially, you're there, you're with a partner that you're attracted to, uh, you think you're doing everything you can, you want to have sex, and you have a dysfunction, and it's so confusing. When you look around, you feel like other couples don't have this, or other guys don't have these issues, right? It can feel extremely lonely.
Right.
And so I just want to, right? And then people always come to me and they say, uh, especially guys, right? They say, "Oh, I should have came a long time ago. I could have dealt with this years ago." But again, don't be too hard on yourself because feeling that loneliness, right? It takes away a lot of motivation.
Right.
But you are not alone, even though it might feel that way.
So one other question, Kevin, because I mean, as a male therapist, do you primarily then work with males, or do you also work with females as well?
It's actually 50-50. When I first started, I thought it was going to be a lot of uh, like mostly guys, right?
Right. Right.
But no, it's because with what I do, right? It may not be the exact same issues,
Right.
but it is going to be things like different types of what is sex, the difference between sex and love to you. Does your partner, do they want to stay monogamous? Do they want to have open relationship or polyamorous relationship or issues of marriage? The same thing, issues of guilt,
Right.
different sex drives, right? And then so self love, depression, anxiety around sex, like stigma around sex.
Right.
Uh, yeah, so it's pretty even.
Wow. Wow. That's
And
great.
I work with straight couples and gay couples, queer couples, all around. And so
Okay.
even with that dynamics, it's pretty balanced.
Right. Right. And do you find that the same kind of issues exist across the diaspora of genders or sexualities, like they have similar type of issues regardless of whether they're straight or gay or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. Mostly it's very, very similar, right? Look, I'm going to see, like, see, that's why it's very important to me look at the individual, right? So I need to look at their psychological blueprint and their sexual blueprint. So I
Right.
go from there. So sometimes it is sexuality might affect that or gender might affect that. But usually it's commonality. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like so much is similar. And if something is different, I love talking about specific men's issues or female issues. I pay a lot of attention to all the, let's say, the activism and the legalism and
Right.
the social observation to see how modern dating is for each people. So I enjoy helping people with that too.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, Kevin, I want to thank you because this has been quite an insightful conversation. I'm hoping that we can bring you on in the future to maybe discuss something more specific in a specific area. Maybe a
Yeah,
conversation about a relationship that's happening in popular media. I believe you recently posted a video about Bobby Lee, right?
yeah,
The
yeah,
comic.
yeah.
And did you have any few words to say about that?
You know, the whole business, Abili Kalila, you need to know them. I don't know if your viewers know them. A lot of people don't.
Right,
It's kind of like their niche, right?
right,
And then
right,
before that, I did Johnny Depp Amber Heard.
right.
So I don't, right? So if I kind of dissect that, I don't know how helpful it would be, but I will say if you want me to examine like any type of South Asian couple or even a fictional Bollywood couple,
Right.
like as your viewers, I'm definitely down to do that.
I would love to see that. Yeah, no, we're gonna get some comments and some people suggesting some stuff to say, hey,
Yeah.
give us a breakdown on such and such couple, such and such couple. Maybe we can do this as a segment. Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
But Kevin, I do want to thank you. I want to thank you for joining us in the Brown Dad today. This has been quite an eye opener. I'm not going to take too much more of your time. I do want to wrap it up here and thank you so much for joining, for sharing.
Thank you.
We're gonna have your contact information obviously on the bottom for any of the male or female viewers that are looking, or any other genders for that matter, right? That are
Yeah.
looking for Kevin's help. Please reach out to him. It is we don't need to suffer in silence, and we
Exactly.
don't need to be alone together, right? We can be together together.
Yes, yes. This is what I want, right? I love your comedy as well and your magic as well.
Thank you.
I love the story of how we met. Right, we're in Little Italy. You're a street magician. You're doing something like you're the only like street magician I've ever seen who didn't ask for like a tip at the end. So I'm like, what? This guy, I'm waiting for that call to action. So it's like, no, I really wanted to do you. And then we became friends on Instagram, and now we're here, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I look forward to many, many more of these, Kevin. Thank you so much for your time. I totally appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Take
Okay.
care.
And goodbye to all our viewers. Tune in next time for our next episode. Have a good one. Take care.